February 1959. 9 hikers, the Ural Mountains. -30 degrees. Something made them slash their tent open from the inside. They ran into the Siberian winter in their underwear. No boots, no coats. They never came back. When searchers found them weeks later, the bodies made no sense. Massive chest fractures, but no external wounds. A missing tongue. Radiation on clothing. Orange skin for 65 years. Nobody could explain what happened on that mountain, until a scientist used the snow physics from Disney's Frozen to solve it. January 23rd, 1959. A group of students from the Ural Polytechnical Institute board a train in Sverdlovsk. They're headed for Mount Otorten, a 16-day ski trek through the northern Urals. Their leader, Igor Dyatlov, 23, engineering student, built radios as a hobby. Stubborn, charismatic. 9 people, 7 men, 2 women, all in their early 20s except one, Semyon Zolotaryov, 38, a war veteran who joined the group at the last minute. The outsider, there was a 10th hiker, Yuri Yudin. He turned back on day 5, sick with rheumatism. His goodbye hug with Lyudmila Dubinina was captured in a photograph. It's the last image of the group alive. Yudin would carry the guilt for 54 years. He died in 2013, the only one who came home. For a week, the group moves through taiga forest, deep snow, heavy packs. They follow Mansi reindeer trails along frozen rivers. Spirits are high. They sing songs, write jokes in the group diary. February 1st, the last day, Dyatlov makes a decision that will haunt investigators for decades. Rather than camp in the sheltered forest below, he leads the group uphill onto the exposed slope of Kholat Syakhl. In the Mansi language, Kholat Syakhl means dead mountain. They pitch their tent around 5 p.m., cut into the snowpack to create a level platform, eat dinner, take a final photograph. The tent in swirling snow and fading light. 9 people. 1 tent, -30 outside. Most of them in sleeping clothes. Boots lined up by the entrance. Sometime between midnight and dawn, something happens. But here's the detail that will keep you watching. What happened next doesn't match any theory until 2021, February 26. A search party finds the tent, half collapsed, covered in snow, a long slash through the canvas, cut from the inside. Boots lined up neatly. Food sliced on a plate as if dinner had been interrupted. Clothing folded. Everything they needed to survive, left behind. The normal entrance was still fastened shut. They didn't use the door. They cut their way out. 9 sets of footprints lead downhill. Some barefoot, some in socks. One in a single boot. After 500 meters, the prints disappear under snow. No other tracks. No sign of struggle. Only the hikers' footprints. Whatever drove them out didn't leave marks. If this story gives you chills, subscribe. The bodies are worse. The first 2 bodies. Under a cedar tree, 1.5 kilometers from the tent, Yuri Doroshenko and Yuri Krivonishenko, in their underwear. -30 degrees. A tiny fire beside them. Branches broken 5 meters up the tree. They'd climbed it desperately. Krivonishenko had bitten through his own hand. 3 more bodies. Spread along the slope between the tree and the tent, Igor Dyatlov, Zinaida Kolmogorya, Rustam Slobodin, face down in the snow, arms reaching toward the tent. They were trying to go back. Dyatlov's watch stopped at 5:31 a.m. The last 4 bodies weren't found until May, in a ravine under 4 meters of snow. This is where the mystery deepens. Lyudmila Dubinina, 20 years old, Ribs 2 through 7 broken on the left side. Ribs 2 through 5 on the right. Massive hemorrhage. Her tongue was missing. Her eyes. Her lips. Semyon Zolotaryev. Same bilateral rib fractures. Still wearing his camera. Nikolai Thibault-Brignole. His skull was shattered. Multiple fractures driven into the brain. The forensic examiner said the force was... The Soviet investigation lasted 3 months. The conclusion: death by compelling natural force which the hikers were unable to overcome. The files were classified. The case was closed. For 60 years, theories multiplied. An avalanche. But the slope was too gentle. Military weapons testing, but no evidence. The indigenous Mansi people, but only the hikers' footprints were at the scene. UFOs, Yeti, infrasound, government cover-up. The bizarre details fed every theory. The radiation, the orange skin, the missing tongue. But most of these have simple explanations. The radiation came from Krivonishenko. He'd worked cleanup at a nuclear disaster. The orange skin was post-mortem exposure to UV and cold. The missing tongue was 3 months of decomposition in running water. The real question was always the injuries. How do you get car crash-level fractures with no external wounds? In 2021, 2 scientists did something extraordinary. Johann Gaum from Switzerland and Alexander Puzrin from ETH Zurich published a paper in Nature. They solved the 3 problems that had defeated the avalanche theory for 60 years. Problem 1. The slope was too gentle for an avalanche. Answer. The hikers cut into the snowpack for their tent platform. This removed the natural support holding the slab above. Problem 2. The avalanche didn't happen immediately. Answer. Katabatic winds deposited additional snow above the cut over several hours. The critical mass was reached while they slept. Problem 3. No avalanche debris. Answer. The slab was small, about 5 meters long, the size of an SUV. Dense, wind-packed snow. Searchers weeks later wouldn't notice it. And here's the brilliant part. Gaum had been impressed by the snow physics in Disney's Frozen. He traveled to Hollywood, got the animation team's snow simulation code, and combined it with General Motors' crash test data. The simulation showed a 5-meter slab of dense snow sliding onto bodies lying on a hard surface produces exactly the injuries found on the Dyatlov hikers. Bilateral rib fractures, skull fractures, no external wounds. Because the force is distributed evenly, like being pressed by an enormous uniform weight. The science explains the injuries. The avalanche explains the panicked exit, paradoxical undressing, a well-documented hypothermia response where the body feels burning heat, explains the lack of clothing. But there's something the science doesn't fully reach. 9 young people, full of life and laughter, made one decision to camp on an exposed slope instead of descending to the trees. And because of that single choice, in a few hours of darkness and cold, they were gone. The mountain didn't care who they were, how smart they were, how experienced, how young. Sometimes the scariest thing isn't a mystery. It's an answer that reminds you how small we are against the forces we walk through every day without thinking. The pass was officially renamed Kamididlov Pass in their memory. Yuri Yudin, the 10th hiker who turned back, spent 54 years wondering what would have happened if he'd stayed. He died in 2013. He asked to be buried beside his friends. 9 went up the mountain. None came down. Next week, the last day of Pompeii, through the eyes of the only eyewitness who survived. Night, the title suggestions. 5 options. 1. 9 went up. None came down. Iwalad Pass. 47 Tars. 2. The mountain that killed 9. Science finally knows how. 57 tars. 3. Disney's Frozen solved a 65-year-old mystery. 45 tars. 4. They cut the tent from inside. Dyatlov Pass. 46 tars. 5. What killed the Dyatlov hikers? It wasn't what you think. 56 tars.